So how would you say you're both using your knowledge to work to build bridges between ancient ways of knowing coupled with modern science, the preservation of traditional ways coupled with relevance to our modern era? And I think, Linda, you answered that in a lot more context than Luke, so maybe you haven't something to add.
Yeah, I do. I kind of take issue with the idea of ancient ways of knowledge,
Okay.
That terminology. And it's not, this isn't to chastise you. It's just to educate people, right? That makes it feel like somehow I'm garnering knowledge, sifting through the dirt, as an archaeologist looking at things and figuring out these things. This isn't ancient ways of knowledge. This is things that our grandmas and grandpas do. This is things that our grandparents did on a regular basis. Just like you were saying, your Russian grandparents who came over, they had a broader knowledge of what they needed to do to survive, right? So this is, it isn't bridging ancient knowledge with modern science so much as it is getting modern science to understand that Indigenous people have had scientific method and scientific knowledge for generations now.
Forever.
Yeah, and it's not something that's new with Western science. I think that Indigenous and non-Indigenous people have been taught by the modern education system. When first contact happened, which is a weird term that we won't get into at this time, when first contact happened, we were like these Stone Age people who were barely ugga-bugging around, around fires, and scraping the dirt to survive, when there were millions of people just in the North and Central America part of this continent who were being fed by a farming system and animal husbandry, even though it's not the same kind of animal husbandry that exists in other parts of the world. We weren't petting buffalo and out there milking them for cheese, but we were, there were buffalo that existed on the plains. There were buffalo that existed in the woods, in the north, and
tons of management systems to, like intricate management systems, intricate trade networks, that actually, interestingly enough, I don't know if you guys saw the article, but the modern interstate system, the quote unquote modern interstate system, actually follows Indigenous trade networks. Wow. So those pathways
really
we took to trade with each other are actually, you can see where the interstate system overlaps with those trade networks, and it's not that it's not an ancient system of knowledge, but it's
timeless, maybe,
right? And but also dynamic, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not that we're stuck in time, doing these things that our ancestors did. It's that our knowledge is just as much, Indigenous knowledge is just as much science, based on a relationship and long-term observation and experimentation with the natural world. And, it has, of course, evolved like everyone else has. We actually consider Western science to be a subset of Indigenous knowledge, because Indigenous science, Indigenous knowledge, we have, like I said, all the experimentation, all of this empirical knowledge, the observation, and all of that. But we also never forget about the importance of dreams and visions and emotion and feeling,
being connected
and connection and sentience of non-human things. And Western science is sort of missing some of that. So it's really just a subset. It really only takes part of of stuff into consideration. And so we really feel like, Indigenous knowledge is just as important and relevant and needed for answering questions today as it always has been.